Hello, my name's Noel Mensforth. I'm from the Department of Planning, Transport and Infrastructure, and welcome to this presentation about proposals to improve the legislative framework for swimming pool safety. On the 4th of April 2013, the Planning Minister John Rao released this discussion paper for consultation until the 31st of May 2013. The discussion paper is aimed at reviewing and improving laws concerning swimming pool safety. The Minister said that our current pool safety compliance and inspections regime needs to be improved. Fundamentally, this is about saving lives, particularly those of young children. Around one child per year dies as a result of drowning in a backyard swimming pool. That one death per year is avoidable. Pool drowning is one of the biggest causes of accidental death in children under the age of 5, and for every drowning death, there are more young children suffering permanent injury. During this presentation, I will cover the coroner's findings of the 21st of March 2013. I'll introduce the discussion paper. I'll tell you how you can make a submission, how to get more information. In 2012, the coroner inquired into the circumstances surrounding the death of a child in a domestic swimming pool. The coroner delivered his findings on the 21st of March 2013. This slide shows a photo of the rear of the house and the swimming pool. The photo was included in the coroner's findings. The owner built the house and the swimming pool as an owner builder. The approved plans designated a pool safety fence along the edge of the veranda. The owner subsequently decided to enclose the veranda with a wall and with bifold concertina doors instead of a swimming pool fence and gates. The bifold doors were fully open when the boy found his way into the swimming pool. Quoting from the coroner's report as shown in this slide, the coroner said, "I have considered whether I should make a recommendation that every swimming pool should be inspected upon completion by the relevant authority. However, there would be nothing to prevent a departure from the plans as depicted on the approval after such an inspection. It thus becomes necessary to consider a regime in which there is a regular inspection for compliance. The establishment of such an inspectorial regime clearly has the potential to incur significant cost. I have no evidence about the likely magnitude of those costs, and I therefore refrain from making any recommendation other than that the Minister consider this finding and consider whether it is necessary or desirable to establish such a regime." And the coroner then made a recommendation that the Minister give consideration to whether it is appropriate to establish a regular system of swimming pool safety inspections, such as exists in Western Australia. The discussion paper includes a summary of systems for swimming pool safety in other states. Western Australia is the only jurisdiction that currently has regular inspections for all swimming pools. The discussion paper takes into account the recommendations from the 2010 Botten-Levinson Review, the 2010 Review of Swimming Pool Legislation and Arrangements in South Australia, findings of the South Australian Water Safety Committee, and last month's coronial findings. The discussion paper asks the public, councils, organisations and businesses for feedback on measures that will improve current pool safety measures in South Australia, and that's where you all come in. The President of the Local Government Association, Mayor Kim McHugh, welcomed the release of the paper and said that it canvasses all key issues which need to be reviewed, including how a higher level of inspections by private or council staff would be resourced, and a possible shortage of qualified staff. Mayor McHugh encouraged the public, swimming pool owners and councils to respond to the paper so South Australia can get this right. Minister Rao anticipated that laws may be introduced later this year. The discussion paper outlines 15 proposals that address the coroner's recommendation. For each issue outlined in the discussion paper, options are presented with advantages and disadvantages identified for each issue. A proposal has been nominated for the purpose of prompting informed discussion and feedback. It's entirely possible that you may not agree with the proposals identified, and that's okay. No decisions will be made on these options until after full consideration has been given to the submissions received at the end of the consultation period. The first proposal is that there be a requirement for all swimming pools to be regularly inspected for maintenance of safety issues. This proposal is in direct response to the coroner's recommendation, and your comments are being sought on this, as well as the remainder of the proposals, as to whether or not you consider such a requirement to be appropriate in this state. The second proposal is that there be cost recovery mechanisms for swimming pool inspections. The discussion paper explains that cost recovery mechanisms may include fees for regular inspections, expiation penalties for failure to register, and we'll talk about registration of swimming pools later, and penalties for non-compliance. The third proposal is that councils should be required to have an inspection policy for swimming pools. And the fourth proposal is that there be cost recovery mechanisms for swimming pool inspections by councils. This is different to the first proposal about regular inspections of all swimming pools. These proposals are about councils inspecting new swimming pools when they're completed. A consistent theme of the South Australian Water Safety Committee and Botton Levinson reviews was the need to implement section 71AA7 of the Act. That's the Development Act 1993, which requires councils to have swimming pool safety inspection policies. If that were to occur, the scope of these policies would need to be determined, and options for that could include a mandatory inspection of all new swimming pools on completion, so 100%. Another option could be a minimum percentage of audit inspections on new swimming pools, and another option could be audit inspection of existing properties when they are for sale that include a swimming pool. The fifth proposal is that the scope of a council inspection policy for swimming pool inspections should be a minimum percentage of audit inspections on new swimming pools. This option was chosen from the options outlined in the discussion paper as the preferred option, as it is consistent with other requirements for inspection policies in the Development Act and regulations. Notwithstanding this, there may be reasons why you may prefer another option, and you're invited to include your suggestions in your submission on the discussion paper. The sixth proposal is that swimming pool enforcement and compliance inspections should remain a function of local government. Currently, only authorised officers of a council are recognised by legislation as being able to undertake statutory inspections and enforce the requirements for swimming pool safety under the Act. There is a commonly held principle that enforcement work should always be a government role if conflicts of interest and commercial pressures are to be avoided. At the same time, though, Systems in other states have demonstrated that government and private partnerships can work. In Western Australia, a local government partnership with the Royal Life Saving Society in Western Australia operates, where that community organisation undertakes the work for a legislated service that is capped at $55 per inspection. The seventh proposal is that private consultants should be able to issue compliance certificates. There is potential for inspections to be undertaken by private consultants. The consultants could produce a compliance certificate which the swimming pool owner then presents to the council. The consultants would need to be registered, administered, audited and subject to compliance action similar to private certifiers for building rules assessments. There would be administrative costs to government associated with the registration of private pool safety consultants, which would need to be covered by registration fees and or possibly a levy on inspection fees. The next four proposals are about registration of all swimming pools. If there's going to be a requirement for regular inspections of all swimming pools, and if that's going to be credible and work properly, it's necessary to have records of where those swimming pools are, who owns them, who owns the property on which the swimming pool is situated. The proposals are that all swimming pools should be required to be registered. There should be council-based registers. There should be a penalty for an unregistered swimming pool. And that there should be a reasonable amnesty period for people to get their swimming pools registered. Swimming pools are required to be registered in Queensland and New South Wales, and there is no fee for registration, it's free. There are penalties for failure to register a swimming pool within a prescribed period in those states. Renewal of registration could be linked to regular inspections, the registration being renewed upon certification of compliance after each regular inspection. The 12th proposal is actually written as a question. That is, should all swimming pools be required to be upgraded to current standards within a prescribed time? In Queensland, all swimming pools will be required to comply with the same rules by 2015. Current standards include requirements for a fence between the doors of the house and the swimming pool. The photo shown in this slide shows what is referred to in the discussion paper as a gap swimming pool. The discussion paper defined gap swimming pool as meaning a swimming pool for which an application for consent was submitted between 1 July 1993 and 1 December 2010. A swimming pool for which building rules consent application was lodged as recently as 1 December 2010 was permitted to have access from the house to the swimming pool via a child-resistant door. The sliding door that you can see in this photograph will close and latch automatically every time it is opened, as was required by the standard when the pool was new. A requirement for all swimming pools to be upgraded to current standards by a prescribed date would mean that the owner would be required to provide a fence between the door of the house and the swimming pool. A reason for introducing this requirement would be that currently there are different sets of rules depending on the age of the swimming pool, and in order to determine which set of rules apply, it's necessary to first determine the age of the swimming pool which set of rules applied at the time, and thirdly, if there is a legislative requirement to upgrade the swimming pool features. So it's quite convoluted at the moment, and people don't always have all that information. So one rule for all swimming pools would make it much simpler. The 13th proposal is that the current requirement for upgrading on the sale of a property should be retained. This is an alternative to the 12th proposal, which was to require all swimming pools to comply with the current standards by a certain date. Currently, the owner of a property with a swimming pool that was built before 1st of July 1993 must upgrade the child safety barriers when selling the property, and this must be done before the settlement date. The 13th proposal is for that rule to be continued. In Queensland, all swimming pools must comply with current standards by 2015, unless the property is being sold or there is a new lease before that date. Then the child safety barriers must be upgraded at that time. Similarly, in South Australia, there could be a combination of the 12th proposal and this one, the 13th proposal. The 14th proposal is that the date for prescribed swimming pools should be changed. Currently, only swimming pools predating the 1st of July 1993 need to be upgraded upon property sale and settlement. That leaves a gap of almost 20 years now. One option to improve safety would be to simply change the prescribed date to a more recent date, thereby reducing the number of gap swimming pools. The most recent significant change to the rules for swimming pool safety occurred on the 2nd of December 2010, when direct access from the house to the swimming pool area via child-resistant doors was no longer permitted for new pools. 2nd of December 2010 may be a suitable date for the purpose of defining what a prescribed swimming pool is. This would mean that the owner of a pre-2 December 2010 pool, when selling the property, would need to provide a fence between the door of the house and the swimming pool, and also ensure that any boundary fences forming part of the barrier are at least 1.8 metres high, with the required non-climbable zone. We're down to the last proposal in the discussion paper now. It's proposal number 15, and that is that resuscitation signage should be mandatory for all swimming pools. The South Australian Water Safety Committee recommended that it should be a requirement for all swimming pools to have signage explaining resuscitation procedures. This would ensure that if a person does get into difficulties in a swimming pool, then those in attendance would have some basic information about resuscitation. In New South Wales, a warning notice is required, and they have a standard that such signage must comply with. It is more than a sign with instructions for resuscitation, in that it also provides warnings about the importance of vigilance and supervision. That's all of the proposals. The consultation period is from the 4th of April until the 31st of May. You can comment on the proposed changes by making a written submission by 5 p.m. on the 31st of May, and the address for submissions is provided in the discussion paper. Alternatively, you can provide a submission by email to the address provided. There's also a website that provides more information, and copies of the paper are also available in hard copy or PDF, which can be emailed to you. And that's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention and time.